Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. My guest today is Rhys Willis. He's an old friend of mine and me and him share quite a lot of similar political views. Today we speak about, is it ever right to punch a Nazi, or that sort of idea of at what point is it okay, if at all, to use violence against someone who has opposing political views to you, and sort of if you go down that road, where sort of the line is. We talk about comedy and jokes and when jokes can be offensive or not, and political correctness in general. We also brush upon North Korea and some sort of general politics with the left and the right and our sort of views on those. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. Obviously it's the first one, so if it may not be perfect, but I really appreciate anyone listening to this right now, and let us know what you think. Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Genuine Chit-Chat. I'm your host, Mike Burton, and I'm here with my pal Rhys.
What's up?
So what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to talk about, I suppose, is the idea of, is it right to punch a Nazi? So, like, when someone disagrees with you politically a large amount, at what point is it okay, if at all, to use violence? And if they use violence towards you first, would you want to, like, fight back? When's it actually right, if ever, to use violence?
I think we should probably nuke them all.
Nuke them all.
Yeah, just put all the Nazis on an island and nuke them.
Or every single Nazi.
Yeah,
just pick them up. Really. Yeah, just all the Nazis. Just grab them up, round them up, and we'll just put them on an island. What island would we nuke?
Put them on
Madagascar.
Bryan Cranston's island, or whatever his name is. Not Bryan Cranston.
Oh, Richard Branson.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Richard Branson.
Or put them all on Richard Branson's
I don't
island.
think this fit. It's quite small.
I don't know how big it is, but I can't imagine it's like... I was thinking more Madagascar.
Make a really big tower.
But I only thought Madagascar because of that game Pandemic. But I do love lemurs, though, and they're all from Madagascar, so that'd be quite upsetting. We'll bring the lemurs into England, and we'll put all the Nazis out. We'll swap lemurs for Nazis. We'll do a big campaign about it. Yeah, so what would you say, Rhys? Because obviously, I assume that you do oppose Nazis and general racism and whatnot.
No, I love them. No, obviously not.
Yeah.
I would consider myself a liberal, but what I've been saying to you recently and other people is that I find that liberalism these days is like I said, I consider myself liberal, but I find liberal has got a new meaning now, almost like the same way feminism changed its meaning a few years ago.
Yeah, because feminism often used to be a lot more about equality of everyone, but then it kind of became a bit more like men are like pigs and women are better, and we're all in the patriarchy sort of thing. And there's that unfortunately they do highlight certain issues which do need to be spoken about, but they make them so much more extreme than they actually... Not all of them make it a lot more extreme, but a lot of feminism now is really about that, because there's all those different types of feminism now, like some of our friends talk about, but it's like there is now that type of feminism which often is the loudest, and it quiets out all the important feminism, which is actually for equality and things that we do need to have issues that are spoken about. But it's this loud, people swearing at each other, calling men pigs and things. It's like, unfortunately, one loud person can often be a lot louder than 50 quiet people.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of the moderate feminists, I think that's the general term of just people who actually want equality for all of us and stuff. I think a lot of them, they don't go on about it all the time. That it's not, they're not doing a huge amount all the time, constantly in the same aggressive ways that I don't know what they call the militant feminists, I suppose.
Yeah, militant,
Yeah.
But but it's the whole so far left that you're now right kind of idea. I think is so relevant because you see it every day, like those Trump support rallies or something, and then the people come who consider themselves liberals, and they'll come because they want to attack the people who support Trump because they think they're bigots. But it's like attacking them means you're a bigot.
It's that thing, as you say, you go so far left, you actually become right, because it's like you want to then use violence in the same way that like fascism and stuff does to stop people's ideas. But that's what fascism is. Fascism is you think your ideas are so much better, and you're trying to stop other people actively and all that sort of stuff. So it's like if you're left, even if you're really progressive with your views, you're still doing the actions of a fascist sort of thing. It's just like very, I'm like centre left. I'd say, I don't know. Yeah. There's certain issues that have come up, especially recently in UK politics, which have really kind of made me question my side on the left. Like, I don't want to necessarily get into it now, but there's things like with Jeremy Corbyn, I support him in a lot of ways, But there's certain ways that I didn't necessarily support him in. Like, for example, the minimum wage thing I'm a bit skeptical about making it so high. Because it's like, it sounds great on paper, but the thing is that we've already got an issue with like 0-hour contracts or, you know, people being made redundant. And it's like, if certain small businesses can't afford to pay people like, you know, £10 an hour, if you're 40 hours a week and then a month, that's £1,600 before tax.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a substantial amount for a lot of lower paying jobs, or like 14 grand, 15 grand, 16 grand. You're getting about 1 grand a month after tax.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you do that, the problem is it can be that it becomes too much for a lot of small businesses, you know, or a lot of big businesses may just make their employees work way harder, and they'll increase the turnover because they'll make people work way more than they already do.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, because they can't afford to have, say, 10 people on at X amount, they can only have, you know, like 6 or 5 people on. So but the workload doesn't change.
Well, I also disagreed with him on the whole Trident thing, where he wanted to remove Trident completely. Into our missile defense system, as you know.
That's interesting.
And I think we're putting somewhere like 90 billion or 100 billion into it a year or something ridiculous.
I didn't realise it was that much.
Or something like that. I might be talking my arse here, but it's definitely in the double figures of billions.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get rid of it completely. And it's like, I agree, and I wish that, you know, we could live in a world one day where every country would do that.
Yeah.
But until that's unanimously just agreed, I don't think it's a good idea, really. I mean, definitely decrease the amount of money going into it, because I think it's a bit excessive.
I've just googled it quick. The Ministry of Defence's budget for 2016-2017 is planned to be 35 billion, increased every year until it is going to be an almost 40 billion at the end of 2021.
It's mad.
Yeah, so that's a lot of money. Yeah, it's going to increase, but to be around 5-6% of this every year.
Yeah.
That is about 2 billion. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It can go in so many good places. Like, you know,
well, NHS. That's probably the main. I'd say the NHS and the school education, like education in general, and the NHS. I'd say those two are the most important things for, in my view, of what a country needs to take care of. You need to educate young minds, and you need to make sure that sick people are taken care of. Once you've got that baseline, then you can build up from there. Yeah. You know, there's no point fighting or having a missile defense system to prevent people like killing us if we're dying here already, or education systems failing us so we can't get jobs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like
I agree it should be there.
Yeah.
But not that much investment into it. I think that's a little bit overboard. I mean, I'm not an expert. I don't know how much these things cost, but I'm sure you could have a lower running cost than that.
I'm sure there is a way.
The thing is, the reason I think it should stay is because, I mean, it's only been relevant, and my view's only been validified recently. But the whole North Korea thing.
Oh yeah, because they've been doing more missile tests and stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, they threw a missile over Japan.
Yeah.
Just unprovoked. I'm not sure what happened to it. I think it crashed into the ocean or something on purpose.
It is still one of those moments, though. You don't know if they're just doing like a dick measuring contest, or if, because the thing is that
the thing is, when you're talking national security on that level,
yeah,
I think it's more than that. I mean, dick measuring with politics for the most part is saying stuff.
Moving nukes a lot of the time as well.
Yeah,
like with the Cuban Missile Crisis was quite a lot like that.
Actually firing them is so provocative, particularly coming from a country which is essentially a country gone rogue.
It's also against America, and the thing is that the thing is, America is the most powerful nation in the world. That is just how it is. So if they try and nuke America, and they could do a lot of damage, unfortunately, I'd hate to see any of that happen. But if they do, then America will literally just completely decimate North Korea. There's got no chance at all. Yeah. It literally hasn't got a chance. America's so huge, and there's so many missiles in it.
And no one would defend them.
No. Well, China. That's the issue. Is that China are on the fence about it, because that's why we haven't kind of gone in a lot. That's part of the reason we haven't gone in, because we don't want to disrupt things with China, but also they've got missiles pointed at the what's the capital city in South Korea?
South Korea. Oh, it's like Seoul, I think it's called. I don't know how it's pronounced.
I'm pretty sure it's Seoul. Yeah,
Seoul.
I think it is Seoul. I think it is. Yeah. So basically, they've got artillery aimed at the main city, and the main city in Japan. Yes, the capital of Japan. Wow, I'm terrible. The capital of South Korea. I apologize. It's the population is about 25.6 million people, which is half the residents in the whole country.
Wow.
So you've got to think, like, if North Korea did that, that's a lot of people. That's, like, way more than London in comparison, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Greater London. But the thing is with the Trident thing is, I agree with you, but here's one of the things about politics, which is I'm a bit sceptical about, because with the government being transparent about a lot of things, with the Trident thing, what we should do is reduce the amount of money going into it, but don't tell anyone. Well, not lie, obviously. We would tell our allies, but like with North Korea, for argument's sake, I mean, they would likely target America before us, but just say for hypothetical reasons they attack us. We wouldn't want them to know we've taken money out of the Trident. We would want them to still think we're spending 40 billion on it a year or whatever on earth we're doing it. So, but the problem is if you do that, then you agree that there can't be full transparency within the government, because it means people can look into it. So
True, yeah.
then it's like, what secrets? So this is one of the things that came out with.
Weird, yeah.
I think there was a guy called Mike Baker. He's a ex-CIA operative. He was an agent or something, and he was on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's been there a few times. He's a really interesting guest, and he talks about with Snowden, like he announced a lot of stuff, but the thing is he said a lot more about Snowden than this. I'm just taking this one thing out.
Yeah.
He was saying, basically, him doing that, yeah, a lot of people found out a lot of atrocities, but the main people who benefited from that were our actual enemies who do threaten national security. Like, once you let out, we've got, I don't know if this was actually in Snowden's leaks, but if we use this as an example, we've got this Al-Qaeda base in this country aiming, we're going to attack it in, I don't know, a month or something. If that gets out, they know, and they also know some of our other tactics that we use, like, with I don't believe we do torture anymore. I'd like to think we don't, but if that was the case, you know, talking about waterboarding, that sort of thing, when that comes out, you know what the people can do. And what Mike Baker was saying was that now that there's a thing out basically saying we're not like legally allowed to torture people, when they interrogate them, all of the like jihadists and stuff know what the US Army manual is, because they can read it, because they can get it, because it's free information.
Yeah.
So they read it, they can see that they're not legally allowed to do any torture techniques. So when they get interrogated by someone, they're not as fearful, because it's not that the CIA were going to necessarily torture them, but it was the worry of being tortured would maybe make some people talk if they are captured.
Yeah.
But so once you let out a lot of this information, yeah, a lot of the public is like, oh great, we know all these sorts of things, but equally so do all of our enemies. And that's the problem. Is like, do we want a government that is going to be more transparent, but also our enemies makes us more vulnerable, or are we okay to be like, okay, I don't really want to know about the bombings in Al-Qaeda, or not in Al-Qaeda, because that's obviously an organisation, not a place, but it's like the bombings here in Syria, that sort of thing. Would we rather not know about that and just know they're trying to protect us, and our enemies, in quotations enemies, being, you know, more, would not know as much information about us, or would we rather we know it? And I don't know the answer to that question.
As much as people love, you know, openness with the government and anything really, they want transparency in most things. I agree that it's necessary in most things, or at least a massive luxury. But I think with government issues and things of national security, I think secrecy is pretty damn key.
Yeah.
Like,
there's certain
no
grey
around
areas,
it.
isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like us knowing about that won't necessarily benefit us.
Yeah. If anything, it'll make us panic.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's this is the thing with politics. This is what centered around this conversation, was that the reason I'm more centre left is because there are some right ideologies that I do agree with a bit more with certain things. So with war and things like that, like I don't like war. I don't like going over to other countries. Like I think it was Iraq. I may be wrong. That was the one where they basically said they had weapons when they didn't, and it was actually all for
I
oil.
think that was them.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that was the one. But with that, obviously, that was wrong, because there was not actually any reason to do that. But it's like, with the other countries that we've with Gaddafi, for example, when he was obviously the leader, or even Saddam Hussein, they were running a country in a way that was awful, and they were doing horrendous things to people. But when we intervened, there was the power vacuum once we got rid of them, and then the country fell into civil war, and that's where ISIS came from. That sort of...
Libya,
yeah, it was Libya. It was like the broken country where there's no leaders. Who takes charge? Well, it's all the insane Muslims who have got guns and bombs and will die for their cause. So they take over the whole country, and then... Well, not the whole country, but then it becomes this massive war zone. And that's what we did, because we took... Even though he was a corrupt, bad leader like Gaddafi, he was kind of almost a cork, you know?
Yeah, he was holding it all together to a degree.
And once again, I don't want there to be evil people in the world, but I don't want is it better to have, I don't know, 50 innocent people tortured a year to save the lives of 200 people innocent who would be otherwise killed by ISIS if there wasn't some sort of leader in power? And I don't know the answer to that question either, unfortunately. Obviously, our world leaders are trying to make these decisions, but it seems like, I mean, obviously there's a lot more intelligent people than me or you are discussing these sort of things, and there's probably a lot more into it than we're thinking about, but it's just, is it we're not being told everything, or is it that we are being told everything, and this is actually as complicated as it is? So I don't really know if I want to know. It's like
I'm not sure which one I prefer, to be honest.
well, there's that video released. There's videos, obviously, of Saddam Hussein being hung and Gaddafi being killed. Because I remember Joe Rogan's talking about the Gaddafi one as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I really want to watch that, you know?
I've seen Saddam Hussein getting hanged. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, yeah?
But I think the other one's meant to be pretty messed up.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be like on his knees begging, and they're like
There's people like just
beating him
beating
or
the
something.
crap out of him, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really, like, even if someone's evil, I'm not necessarily saying they don't deserve it, but I don't want to see it.
No.
Reminds me of those days back in like the early internet days, and not quite smartphones, like the in-between between like a Nokia and a smartphone, like a lot of Motorola Razrs and stuff.
Yeah.
And
They're the best.
yeah, old school. We'll go back to them. We'll bring them back.
3-pixel camera.
Yeah, it's like you take a picture and you literally cannot actually see what the hell it is. So I've got 4x zoom. It's like you can't see in 1x zoom. What's the point?
You put it on a computer and it was like 200 by 200 pixels.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's fucking tiny.
It was like so small. It's like it's actually too small for like even like an MSN display icon, and that's when you know it's too small. That's when it's like no, when it can't fit on your MSN. That's it. Nightmare. But those videos where you have like people just come up to you and say, "Hey, look at this!" It's just someone being shot in the face with a shotgun. It's like those kind of videos made me the man I am today. It's awful.
I can't stand like beheading videos, man. They freak me out.
I saw one of like I think it was some sort of Mexican drug cartel where they were up close to the camera and there was this woman like on her knees and there was like a big block of wood in front of her. And he had a machete, and he just went like that. And as it hit, I just saw blood, and I was like, "This is fake." And I was like, "This isn't a joke or something." And I was like, "This isn't a joke. I can't. Nope."
So many. I think there's more than just ISIS that do it. There's so many different groups that have done it.
Was that even? I think it's Saudi Arabia. Do they still do? It's one of the countries that has Sharia law that do. They do still kill people, and I think public beheadings was semi recently. I'm gonna check that out.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I actually saw a video of I don't really know what it was or why it was happening. I think it was some sort of weird festival in a Middle Eastern country or something. I might be completely wrong on the setting.
Okay.
But there was a video of a guy holding a machete and he was hitting himself with the back with it, like almost like whipping over his shoulder.
What?
Hitting himself in the back with the machete, and you could see it, and it was just like so disgusting, and it made me feel sick. And it was like, you know, when you see something so messed up, it gets like imprinted into your mind.
Yeah, I've had a
You
few
can't
of
stop
them.
thinking about it.
2 girls, 1 cup. But tub girl.
Tub girl, definitely.
If anyone's listening to this, do not Google image tub girl. It's just awful.
I'm doing it right now.
There's someone with that tattoo of it though as well. That's just.
Oh, yeah.
Why would someone do that? How drunk must they have been? Or how much of a douche? Just like thinking the gig something like that on your arm is so cool. Yeah.
It's so gross. Thinking about how that video or picture or GIF, I can't remember what it was, to be honest, but I've seen it.
Well, I was going to say I've just looked it up. Capital punishment is a legal penalty in Saudi Arabia. In 2016, the country performed at least 154 executions.
Lovely.
Sometimes the authorities crucify the now dead prisoners. They're almost exclusively based on the system of judicial sentencing discretion rather than Sharia prescribed punishments, following the classical principle that Haddad penalties should be avoided if possible. The rise in death sentences during recent decades resulted from a concerted reaction by the government and courts to rise of a violent crime in the 1970s, and paralleled similar developments in the US and Russia and China. That's basically saying crime's getting worse, I think. But yeah, so they performed 154 executions, and they sometimes crucify people as well.
That's pretty messed up.
But they crucify after they're dead, it said. I think that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
so
well,
it's like, but still,
not quite
like
as messed
having
up,
them
but
in
it's
the
definitely
bodies,
messed up.
like having bodies like that in the street,
It's
just
like,
like for children to see and stuff.
It's like when like tribes thousands of years ago would like kill their enemies and like hang their bodies up outside of their gates to ward off other enemies. And
Well, it is a very tribal thing, especially when it's religion, isn't it? It's a very much us versus them mentality. It's our god against your non-real god sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, we're right, you're wrong. You have to, there's factions of it. Obviously, there's Jehovah's Witnesses are a lot more polite about it, but they try and invite you to their team in a sense. That's kind of what's in their doctrine. And then there's other ones who are like some of the Islamic extremists, which are like join us or die. It's just like, okay, it's a bit much, But yeah, so if we just rewind a bit, So with violence towards people who have conflicting views. So if like
Well, we can link back to the whole North Korea thing, because at the moment we've got a situation where we've got an absolute fucking lunatic running a country. Well, running, use that term loosely.
Yeah.
Controlling a country, and now he's like, he's provoking many other countries, and he's sending missiles over Japan, which is a neighbor.
Yeah.
And it's like what we were saying earlier about attacking or liberalizing a country like Libya. About, it's like, oh, there's an evil person controlling this country, let's get rid of them, problem solved, and then the country ends up way worse from it.
Yeah.
What do we do about this?
Where's groups of people.
Where's the line? With something like Libya, I'm not sure how much they were actually affecting America.
Yeah.
But, I mean, North Korea, that's exactly what they're threatening, is to affect other countries directly. So at some point we have to step in, I'd imagine, but I don't really know when that is. I don't know who can make that call.
That's the problem, because whoever does it, like if they fire first, then whatever we do to them will be in retaliation. So if they kill lots of people in America, for example, if I keep saying we as in we're American, we're not. But if America was, attacked and a missile did hit and did kill a lot of people, whatever America did to North Korea, everyone in the world would be like, okay, I kind of get that. You've had X amount of people wiped out. You're doing this as self-defense.
Yeah.
But if North Korea have not yet actually properly fought them, if they're like a kid at school threatening to beat you up and that sort of stuff, if you, obviously with kid beating up, the consequences aren't quite as dire, but it's like, what is it? Just the act of violence, the first act of violence, which is wrong, or is it? Because once you say it's someone's viewpoint, if you're saying, oh, someone's racist, therefore their viewpoint's wrong, and although I agree with that, you're basically having a disagreement of ideas. And what happens is that if you say you can use violence against someone else for having this idea, then it opens the grounds to, okay, who decides what ideas, like who, is it a vote for majority? Is it majority vote sort of thing? Because the majority vote for Trump, you know what I mean? So it's like, and that doesn't seem to be necessarily what everyone wanted. But it's like, would you have to have a majority vote of the country, of the world, of where's...
I guess the world leaders will have to get together.
So
be like, so we all agreeing to fucking...
So if we all...
thing?
So if we all agree, like if they all say, anyone who's a Nazi gets put in prison immediately. But then it's like, if you said something like that, then where does it stop? It's like it's... I know that the people on the right especially like to use the term slippery slope quite a lot, but when it comes to ideas, I feel the same about it as I do with comedy, for example. With comedy, if you make a joke about something that is, offensive to someone, which a lot of jokes, especially in stand-up, are, if you say to someone, okay, Jimmy Carr or Frankie Boyle, you can't make a joke about Muslims for this reason because they get offended. You go, okay, but then what about the Christians and the Catholics? And then what if he makes a joke about the Buddhists? And what if he makes... Then it's like, okay, every religious group is exempt. Okay. What about ideas? Like, what if we believe this or we believe that? Not necessarily like religion per se, but like, I don't know, people who believe in either ghosts or those healing crystal things or anything like that. If they believe any of those things happen, then they get offended. Then can you allow them? Okay, yeah, you can. But then how far down do you go? Do you say people are like heavy metal music or pop music? If you start insulting pop music, someone could get offended. Like, I'm certain there's a certain amount of, I imagine primarily young girls who really love, I don't know, One Direction, for example. I know they're not together anymore. Yeah. But if you said really horrible stuff about that, they may take it personally and they may get upset about that. And it's like, okay, well, if that still upsets them, say that upset that girl the same amount, if you could somehow quantify it, to someone if you mocked their religion, then are they not in theory two things that you believe that are causing the same amount of pain, so you can't joke about that either? And then it just becomes a thing of you literally can't make a joke that's offensive because someone is going to get offended. So with comedy, for me, I'd say, especially with stand-up, comedy and things like that, it's like you can complain about it if you want, but to be honest, you have to just let them say anything, otherwise who decides what can't be said? And once you do that, how do you know this person is going to get influenced by people? Yeah. Do you have this one all-seeing person who just seems to know political correctness exactly how it should be? Or do you have, like, I imagine it being Eddie Izzard, I don't know why. I've just really got Eddie... I don't know, I think it's because Scroobius Pip said he's going to be having Eddie Izzard on soon, and I just think he's quite a cool cookie character. Just have him there, just like... I don't know any of his political views, so if he turns out to be horrendous, then I don't...
Like the moral all-seeing eye.
Yeah, he's got the style for it.
Moral.
him. I can't remember when it was, but it was when he had this. His hair red and spiked up. He was also wearing the lipstick, eyeliner, and stuff. He was wearing, I think it's like a blue trench coaty thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm on about?
He's won some crazy stuff.
He has. He's pretty mad. Do you know he voiced Voldemort in the Lego Batman movie? But Ralph,
I'm so confused.
But Ralph Fiennes, who voiced and played Voldemort in the actual films, played the butler Alfred in Lego Batman, and he didn't play Voldemort.
What the hell?
I know. Watching it, I was like, because Voldemort pops up in it.
I was about to say I haven't seen this.
No, I'm not. It's
Voldemort's in it.
It's not a huge spoiler or anything for that. It's like loads of characters come into it. I won't say any of the others, but Voldemort's in it, and it's like he's played by Eddie Izzard, the voice, but not Ralph Fiennes, who plays Voldemort. And I just watched it and I go like, what? That film has some great cameos in though. I watched it the other day with Kieran, just like I watched In Bruges. That's a cracking movie as well.
That's great.
But yeah, so what are your thoughts on sort of who gets to decide what things we can or can't talk about?
I think it's all decided by culture over time, and slowly. I mean, no one's decided. Well, I think people as a whole decide what's good and what isn't, and what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And then eventually, when enough people unanimously agree, and particularly if, for instance, an insult like the N-word or something, if it has connotations like that one does, then maybe the government can step in. And it's hard because
I don't think saying the N-word. I don't think even saying the N-word is actually illegal.
It's not illegal, but the thing
is, obviously really
it can
upon.
be illegal because I'm pretty sure you can be convicted for racism. But it has to be like abusive racism.
Some sort of verbal abuse, I imagine, in some sort of way. I think maybe if you said it once, you could probably get away with it, but I'm not sure if it was like a...
It would have to be a pretty serious thing, I'd imagine.
Just makes you think about that South Park episode with Randy, and it's like he's on that...
Naggers.
Yeah, and he's like, naggers! As the actual right answer, and he actually says the wrong one, and there's all the people staring at him, and it's like, hey, you're that guy, aren't you? And it's like, oh, man. That's just brilliant. Sorry. I agree, because I wouldn't want to say the N-word because I wouldn't want to offend anyone, but obviously there are some black people who do say it to each other in a jovial, obviously non-derogatory sense. And it's like, okay, that word, obviously if I said it to someone who is of colour, and it was obviously, if I said it at all, it could offend a lot of people, but especially if I said it in a hateful, derogatory way, that's horrendous. But obviously would never want to say that, but do the government, should they make that illegal? And then that's what a lot of Americans go on about, which is one of the reasons a lot of people believe the rise of Trump kind of happened, is the whole political correctness thing. Which is like, what... You can't say this, you can't say this. A lot of people complain about not being able to say racist jokes or not be able to, do this or that. And it's like, well, what point do we... When do we stop? Where's the line? That's the problem with all this, is everything is such a grey area. Everything is such a grey area at the moment. I really don't know where the line is of what from a joke becomes offensive, what of someone's thoughts becomes either a religious or untouchable idea, and also what happens if someone has an idea that's deemed hateful, by whom and in what way is it punishable?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? I think with comedy though, I think even if people are really, really, really liberal and they want these things to be, it never says like, obviously no one ever wants people to be racist, but you know what I mean, the kind of person I mean. I think even those people find if a joke is constructed well and delivered well, like I don't know,
it's
Jimmy
clever.
Carr,
I was going to say Jimmy Carr.
If it's good, they're still going to laugh. I mean, you must have heard jokes before that are so messed up, and it is, but it's also hilarious, and you just laugh because it's hilarious.
Well, it's like Ricky Gervais recently got into a bit of... Well, he didn't get into anything, but two people complained that he made a joke about dead babies. Okay, Now, I probably have heard, like when I was younger, there's that old joke, which is like, what's the difference between a Ferrari and a bag of dead babies? And it's like, I don't have a Ferrari in my garage. And it's like, that isn't, like, that's not very funny. But when you're like, 15 or something, that does sound quite funny. And there's other jokes that are kind of like that. Like there's that one page I remember liking off Facebook ages ago when it first all started up. I think it was about 7 or 8 years ago. I think it was 2009. It's about 8 years ago. So yeah, I was 15. And it was, my dark humour isn't everyone's cup of liquidized dead babies.
Yeah.
And it's just those sorts of things. I'm obviously not saying that dead babies are a good thing. That's a horrendous, disgusting thing to say. But there are certain things which are taboo, which may be the reasons they actually become funnier. Like a lot of the time, if you have a swear word in a joke, not every time, but it can be used to make the joke a bit more punchy and a bit more funny.
Yeah.
And when things are shocking and unexpected, that can be a lot of the time where humour lies. Because if you can predict a joke, it's not funny.
Yeah.
Same with all... When you watch too many comedy films and they all come out around the same sort of time, like every one in the last 5-6 years, all the sequels, when you know kind of what the joke's going to be, it's not funny. So it's kind of like the surprise and how unexpected it is. And a lot of the time, the dark humour really delivers that. Because if you're quote-unquote normal person, and you don't think about dead babies, obviously very often, and so you're at a comedy show and someone makes a joke and pulls it out, you go, whoa, where'd that come from, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So... it can kind of come from that, and it's like if you take the power, if you get offended by everything. Sorry, I was going to say take the power away from those words, but that's about swear words. It's a completely different story. But it's like if you say that we can't joke about dead babies because people get offended by that, then it's just back into the whole thing of everything can be offended. It's like offensive rather. It's like that comedian Steve Hughes, who I absolutely love. He was like,
so
I love him so much. He's
Australian,
yeah. If
yeah.
anyone hasn't heard him, seriously, go on YouTube. I think he did a Michael McIntyre comedy roadshow, and he's got a couple of other stand-up things. I think maybe at the Comedy Store or something. He's Australian bloke. He likes metal, and he's just hilarious. And I love him. And at one point, he says like. He's gone on about political correctness, and he's like, I'm offended by boy bands, for God's sake. And it's like, to be fair, it does with me personally. I do get maybe not quite offended, but I get bothered when I see like local alternative bands or just smaller alternative bands who are incredibly talented in so many ways. They're not getting the admiration that I feel they deserve, but pop groups that don't write certain ones, obviously a lot of people in pop like Ed Sheeran, I think is absolutely fantastic. I love Ed Sheeran. But there's certain people in pop who are great, but there's other people in pop who really, they don't write their own music, they don't write their own lyrics. It just comes out of this, what was it, you call it like almost like a machine?
A factory, yeah, like assembly line, like.
Yeah, where it's just like, it's this certain type of pop. Obviously, I'm not saying all pop's like this, and there's a lot more interesting music coming into the more poppy charts and stuff like that, which is really cool. But it's like, there is a degree of pop music which is just manufactured, and it's just unimaginative, it's the same boring stuff constantly. And that person, who actually has very little to do with writing the music or anything like that, they just perform it, they get more money than like a whole band who are writing these fantastic songs, but because they don't have the money to record a full album or go on tour or anything like that, then, or even they're there, but people just don't give them the admiration I feel they deserve.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
Well, no one goes out to local gigs anymore. Obviously they do, but compared to 20 years ago.
Well, it's because of YouTube in a way, I think.
It's just keep plummeting, isn't it?
I think it
We
maybe...
had the Joiners in town, like, threatened to close them like a million times now.
Yeah, well, we live in Southampton, down the south of England, and we have quite a few local music venues. So we have Talking Heads, Joiners. We have The Cellar, is that still going?
Oh, I don't know.
I can't
They changed
remember
it to
the
Soul Cellar, didn't they?
Yeah.
But I think it's still there, but I'm not sure really what it is anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if it has. I'm really not sure about that. But yeah, the Joiners, that's quite locally. Well, that's quite famous across England, I imagine, because like Oasis played there. I think Ed Sheeran played there. I think Coldplay.
I think everyone's played there.
Yeah,
it's only tiny, but everyone's played there.
Yeah. You've played there, haven't you?
Yeah.
your old band. When your bands, actually, yeah. But yeah, obviously that is. I'm not gonna go. Anyone who likes pop music, I'm not gonna go up to you and have a go at you for not liking a certain little band that I like, obviously. But it's like, that bothers me that person at the top of the pop charts who does the least amount of effort gets way more money than, than a local band does. Or even if you can do it simply, that a kind of language almost anyone can understand, is the whole thing with footballers. The amount of money they make compared to like the standard working class person. A lot of people say it's because of how much money goes into it, and I understand all that, but it still does bother me. There's like people starving, and there's people with that kind of money.
Well. It's one of those things, it makes pretty much no sense, but it does bother me. It's because I'd never used to know this when I was younger, so I'd be a proper edgy dickhead about it. But footballers basically, essentially, are getting paid on how good their team is, and well, not how good the team is. Sorry, it's more people who support them. So you get people like buying season tickets and whatever, and people come to the games, people buy merch. That's basically their pay. And
also, if they do better in the league, generally speaking, they become more popular. Or people who were fans of them for a little bit, and then they go, oh, my team's starting to win. I'm going to go to a couple of these games. I'm going to pay more attention to it, watch more TV, buy Sky Sports again, and just watch these games and stuff.
So they're making this absolute ridiculous amount of money. Like, people compare it to, like, people always say the classic comparison, like, oh, these footballers make millions a month. And
I think it was in 7 minutes.
Like a doctor who gets paid a lot, but not even close to that amount. Then it's just like, the doctor's being paid by a company or an organisation, the government, in this country, and then you've got footballers who are just paying for people who are essentially directly paying them for entertainment. You know, it's almost like being annoyed at. It's almost like being annoyed at an actor or a comedian.
It's like Robert Downey Jr. He made millions from the Avengers movies, and that's
like
because people want to pay millions to see Robert Downey Jr. in the Avengers movies.
Exactly.
You know, I agree, but it is still. It does still offend me.
It really annoys me.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's part of capitalism, but it does bother me. And I'm not saying if I just said put out a limb and just said that offends me. Like it offends me. Well, does someone talking about that at a comedy show, because that makes me feel offended, is that equivalent to, obviously not if someone's with the Ricky Gervais thing, it was two parents lost their child, you know, and then the dead baby jokes really sparked something. So obviously I'm not saying to that degree, but if someone, I don't know, badmouths, if you're into your religion but not like really, really into it, and someone just says something, you're like, oh, I don't really agree with that, I don't really like that. That kind of feeling, if it's, if it's that sort of thing, then where's the line of being offended? Or when can we stop?
Well, if you ask the average person these days, they say there isn't a line. Everything's offensive.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of split down the middle. I think everyone says either everything is or nothing is. Because you get like the birth thing, like with the internet, it's shown a lot more things with. I think Reddit's quite a good example.
Yeah, people
dank
share
memes and stuff.
Their entire life over the internet now.
Yeah,
and you can see everyone's views, and people just don't give a shit anymore, do they?
Do you know what I found out? That's really just a thing that I can't remember who said it. I might have been someone on Joe Rogan or some sort of other podcast. I forget, but they said something that was perfect. It might have been Mike Baker actually. If it's not him, I apologize for giving him credit. It was saying, excuse me, sorry. It was saying that it's weird how there's so many people today, especially who are like internet activists, who are so against the government looking into their personal lives and being like, look, I don't want you looking at my emails or my texts or anything, but I literally post every single conceivable thing about my life on Facebook.
Yeah,
like literally.
I don't want the government to look at my texts and see if I'm, involved in a terrorist group. But also, here's a picture of my baby with a tag of my address.
But also, like, my location of where I'm going this day. Like, I've been to this pub, and I'm going to Primark now. Here's a picture with me with my, like, 2-year-old child in Primark in town with a location showing you where I am. But no, I don't want you to know. Also, with things like...
Also, here's my Snapchat, which shows my actual location, yeah.
I was going to say Snapchat with the actual location, and also, when people get really drunk, and they go on Snapchat... And it's like they're sending pictures. You know, there's certain people, I'm not going to name, but there's certain people who take Snapchat, so sometimes of even doing drugs. Sometimes even smoking, like weed usually is the people I sort of know, is that sort of thing. And it's like, well, if they do that, then the government anyone can see that. If they know your name or they even know your like Facebook, they can pretty much find your Snapchat from there. Yeah. So it's just like, you don't want the government spying on you. Okay, well, don't post everything about yourself online to a degree. But obviously I understand where there's certain things, like even I'm a bit of a social media whore. Unfortunately, I do post on Facebook way too often, and Instagram.
You disappoint me.
I do disappoint you, yeah. I need that gratification, mate. That's what I need, you know. I need those likes, you know.
Inject that gratification.
Yeah, when I'm alone at night, you know, and I feel really upset and down, what really brings me happiness is when an Instagram post about a banana gives me like 20 likes. You know, that just... Yeah. That brings
really
me
gets you going.
It gets me ready for the day, you know. I get motivated so I can, you know, send my few... I get motivated in the mornings, you know. What gets me through my day is posting pictures on Instagram and getting likes from people.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, there are people who are like that.
Yeah.
But actual people who make money off it, like those
Instagram
often
models.
attractive women, who like, they further those, what was it, Huel?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm doing it. I've become one. But maybe I'll start doing it. I'll do it.
This is product placement, guys.
Yeah, this is it. We're being paid a lot by Huel. I don't even know what it is. Is it like some sort of...
It's like a powder thing that I think you mix with water and it becomes like a porridgey kind of paste, and it's meant to have all your daily stuff in it.
It's maybe like detoxing sort of jazz and stuff. Detoxing sort of stuff, I think. It's all those like healthy things.
Bullshit,
there's that tea that you can get.
Yeah.
The
thing is, what I don't get about it...
Wait, it says Huel, the official site, nutritionally complete food. You say it's bullshit. I don't think it's bullshit. It's more supplement
it's not
bars.
bullshit. I just mean bullshit as in like, just fuck off. Like,
I'll stop going on about it sort of thing. Like.
No, it's not going on about it. It's just, why do you exist? It's like, oh guys, you can have, you know the stuff you get from food, like nutrients and stuff, yeah. And you know food tastes great, yeah. Well, why don't you just have just the nutrients and just not the great taste? It's like, I guess it's obviously for diets and stuff like that.
A lot of people, it's diet.
What a miserable life. What a miserable life you got to lead.
It's dieting and vegan. A lot of the thing is veganism, isn't it? Because like vegans have to take supplements, or almost all vegans have to take supplements to keep a truly healthy lifestyle. Because I think it's the B vitamins or some there's certain vitamin which is almost impossible to get if you don't eat dairy or meat, and so you have to take supplements for it. And what I think it is though is It depends how much money they have, I suppose. Because like, if you get like a rich businessman and he doesn't have time, and he's really busy, he doesn't have time to like have full meals for like breakfast and lunch. He can have these nutrient porridgey things that he can just kind of drink or eat like on the rush, and then he can have a proper meal in the evening.
I guess so.
But the thing is with you,
This seems so weird. It seems so
it is weird.
sci-fi, you know?
It is very
It's like
weird.
something that astronauts would have.
It is. You can get that astronaut food, can't you? Like dried ice cream and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they have like fully sealed, airtight bags of
Yeah.
weird capsules
I
or
think
something.
pooping in space, you have to put your butt, and it almost literally sucks it out. Not like like you go in there, but because obviously the gravity, if you just go and you poop and you come off it, it'll float about, won't it?
Well,
I think you have to poop in a
I just
bag.
thought you put in a bag or
It's
something.
I think it's a vacuum seal bag. That's what I think I'm thinking of.
That would make sense. It would vacuum in the smell as well, you know.
Yeah.
So you can vacuum in. I don't know what your shit would smell like if you were eating
Space food.
but-
That'd be interesting. Oh, well, not interesting enough for me to actually want to go to some place and smell it as shit. That would
Well, I
be
guess also.
quite
I
unpleasant.
mean, if you're in a well, no, you're not always in a spacesuit, are
Are
you?
you thinking about always pooping in a spacesuit? No. Well, no, you're not. You're only in a spacesuit when you're outside the ship,
Yeah,
generally.
yeah.
Because you get those people who are up there for... I don't know how long they stay up there. They can only stay up there for a certain amount of time, I think. And they have to come back down.
I think it's a fairly long time.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure you can stay in space for like over a year.
Would you ever go up to space if you had the chance?
If the technology was like really advanced by this point, and I can completely trust it, you know,
Yeah.
I can get over like anxieties and stuff. It's like flying. Like,
Yeah.
I have anxiety about flying.
Yeah,
although
but
I love
you
flying.
flew a plane though, didn't you?
I did fly a plane. I love flying. I love flying, but at the same time, you are going up in a metal tube, flying through the air, super fast. Like, it's the idea of if something went wrong, this would be a really, really, really terrifying and awful way to die.
Yeah.
But it's the chance of it, isn't it? I mean, you're more likely to die in a car crash than an airplane crash. So it's just like,
The thing is, I think, probably statistically speaking, out of all the... Because you got to think there's not that many... Actually, I don't know now. I'm trying to think, what percentage of, like, how many cars are in accidents that are fatal, and then how many spaceships have gone up? Because I can name probably 3 to memory, not to name, but generally that a lot of the Apollo missions that have blown up and killed people.
well, there was that. I saw a video of. I can't remember what mission it was, so I'm going to butcher this story a little bit. But there was a launch in, I think, the 80s,
Right.
and there's a video online of basically the crew had their family in like a special viewing area. You know, they like to watch the launch and stuff
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
and it's on TV and stuff. They have their own special viewing area, which is like the closest part. It's still really far away, but and one of them, their family members, is recording, and they're all like really happy, and they go off in space and they're all cheering and stuff like that. And people have explained in the comments, but you can see it's kind of something going weird. It looks like it kind of should be happening if you don't really know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read on it, it was some sort of like like a popping kind of look
Right.
to the engine, and it got really, really high. I don't know how high it went, but it was very, very high.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly just exploded like massive.
Some sort of gas leak or something that was causing the
I
additional...
think
like
it
a
was
fuel leak or
it was it was something like I think it was oxygen.
Right.
The oxygen tank leaked or something. I'm not really sure. And
Yeah.
basically it ignited and just exploded and blew everything up. Something like that.
Well, I don't know how many. I don't know how many specific space. How many people have tried to go up to space and died in the process. But I would you imagine that's more percentage wise than in car crashes? I don't know. But I was going to say.
No,
Wait,
the thing is, if you
I was going to say quickly because I'll forget about this otherwise. I just checked. How long do you have to stay in space, sort of thing? Usually, people are up there for about 6 months, up in space. The longest space station mission date was 215 days. I don't know the reason necessarily why, but yeah, you have to.
well, you get medical
Space
problems
sickness,
and
don't
stuff. You get like your bones become really brittle.
That's it. Yeah, because the oxygen, the gravity, because there's no.
Your muscles don't
Yeah,
like either.
you get-
I
I
think
think
your
dystrophy.
muscle
Yeah.
dystrophy.
We're
Yeah.
both going to say the same thing, so that's it. Because we both said the same thing at the same time, we cannot be mistaken. That's
The
fact.
thing is, though, if you died in space,
Good
you're
stuff.
probably going to die in an explosion on the way up, or something going wrong on the way down, like that thing happened, like I think in the 2000s,
Yeah,
where they died on the way down.
yeah.
But particularly if you're on the way up, you know, it's awful because you're going up to space and it's scary and you're really high up. But you're definitely going to die before anything happens. You're going to explode and you're fucking dead like instantly.
Yeah, it's just
much.
like an instantaneous, like, but we've got pretty
Not
much.
to say it's not. Yeah,
It's obviously
a real
tragic.
thing,
Yeah, it's
but
obviously
it's like that
horrendous
video.
thing.
Like you just exploded and someone's filming this who is a part of one of the family, and all the people around him are family and friends, and it's just so depressing. Holy
God,
shit, they're
yeah.
all like freaking. They go like silent. and you hear like mutters of like whimpering and stuff. 'Cause no one says anything. No one knows what's happening. Everyone knows what's happening, but
I
no
suppose
one,
the
barely anyone
flames start
says
to
anything.
disappear and you see the sort of wreckage kind of.
Yeah, you just see it.
Oh,
It's
God.
a massive explosion,
That's horrendous.
and then it's silence for a while, and you hear like crying and basically like screaming. Oh, it's
That'd be
just awful.
That is, yeah, that's the sort.
So
When I see those
horrible.
sort of videos on either Reddit or anything like that, I'm just like, you know what? Not today.
Yeah.
You know, life's pretty damn depressing most of the time anyway. So it's like
It's all about the reactions, really. Seeing things like that are really
yeah, it's
messed
awful. But
up,
you don't
like-
have the emotional connection.
Yeah, it's like
the
watching
empathy.
9/11. Like you
Oh,
watch videos of
God.
people jumping out the windows, and it is absolutely horrendous. But
That
watch one of
stuff
those.
kills me.
Watch one of those videos from someone filming it on the street, and it is horrendous because just everyone's screaming. And
Everyone's in
everyone's
fear,
crying.
aren't they? They
It's
don't know what's
just
gonna happen.
horrible. It's like infectious. That's why I find movies like horror movies, particularly ones that are just like super gory, like I don't know, Saw.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be anywhere near as bad if the people didn't scream as much. If it was just as gory, but if people weren't like show their desperation and screaming so much, it wouldn't be anywhere near as bad. I find it so like haunting when people.
But
are
that's
screaming
kind of the
agony
point,
and
isn't it? Because like, that's
fear.
when you get a good actor, when you can empathise, when you can really feel them. Obviously, I wonder if psychopaths don't, or sociopaths, or both, don't like films that are either horror or emotional films. Well, maybe they like horror because they like watching people get killed. It depends on how far the psychopathy is, but it's
Yeah.
like, you know, what...
Well, I imagine they like horror. I'm sure it'd be their favourite.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking more, would they like films like Pursuit of Happiness or things like that? I mean, I still haven't seen that film. It's too upsetting to even think about.
I don't know. I doubt
What's the
it.
film that I saw? Oh, I saw that Detroit, didn't I? Yeah, that was pretty upsetting. Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but it's absolutely amazing. Everyone should go see it, even though I don't think it's really in the cinema anymore. But everyone should just go see that film. It's absolutely amazing. If you don't feel something when you watch that film, I literally can't understand. That film gave me such an emotional reaction. It's madness.
Yeah, I'm going to see that soon.
Yeah,
Definitely.
the acting in it is just superb. But it's like, it's empathy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which actually comes in a nice little loop back to the punching a Nazi thing, which was, here's a question, to like a slight side thing. With, if you're, obviously, I don't think have you been violent towards anyone, like, properly? Like, have you hit anyone?
I've hit people, yeah.
Okay, well, it's like, well, the only person I've ever hit is you. Do you remember
that's
that?
true,
Yeah. I've pushed a couple of people over. I pushed that kid who was bullying me over a bench once. I was in like 5 or 4 or something.
Yeah.
I'm not really a violent person. I seem to manage to talk my way out of conversations a little bit. Or maybe I was just like, when I was younger, I was so pathetic. Like this fat, squeaky voiced, curly haired kid. I was so pathetic. It was like, you know what? He's not even worth it. Like, I did get bullied a bit, but not like fully beating the crap out of or anything.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I've thought about it before, and I was like, the only times I could ever really see myself being violent would be if I had a child and anyone did anything to them. Like, I don't even have children; I just have nieces and nephews, which obviously are quite young, or were quite young. I've seen them grow up and whatnot, and it's like, if anyone touched them, I would kill them. But it's like that love is incomparable to what like a child of your own is like.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
especially like some people like I haven't had it. I'm quite young at the moment. I decided I don't want a kid at the moment, but it's like I don't even know what that love is. Yeah, I have even a tiny amount of that for my nieces and nephews, and that is still ridiculously powerful. Even my friends, like, you know, well, obviously you're one of my best friends and have been for a long time. And it's like, if we got into a situation where someone was trying to like beat the crap out of you, I would, you know, if I was there. If there was some sort of situation I could help by being violent, I would do that. If it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to like beat you up, I'm sorry, mate, I could punch him and it would just break my hand, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
You know,
If
if it was,
be like, you know, getting beaten up and you just be walking away like, yeah, so I'll just see you like.
I don't know what I'd do. I'd try and pull you off him or something, but I wouldn't fight him. Do you know what I mean? I'd try and escape.
Yeah.
But if it was someone who was, I don't know, if it was a person who's identical to me, for example, just my sort of stature, so it's equivalent to me trying to beat you up, then that would be okay because I could stand a chance, and also you'd be on my side, so that sort of thing. But I wouldn't ever want to beat up someone, because also you get that thing where you cause someone so much aggro that if you fall to the floor and they keep hitting you when you're down, that's when the really dangerous stuff starts to come around. Like I would never want to fight anyone. But if I hit someone and they're down, they're down. You know, if they get back up again, I would maybe hit them down again, or maybe I'd hold them down. But you get those people who like they're punching them on the floor or kicking them and things like that, and that's when you can cause brain damage, kill people. That's one of the main reasons why in town it would have to be some horrendous thing to happen to like my friends, or if I had a girlfriend at the time, or happened to her. You know, if something horrendous happened to them, to use violence against that person, not just because I don't like using violence, but the consequences of it. Either you hit someone, they go down, hit their head a bit too hard on the floor, gone, or they hit you, you go down, and they just don't stop, and you're down. You know,
that's definitely my fear.
Teeth as well. I don't want to be punched in the teeth and lose my teeth. Oh, that'd be awful.
I was actually watching like, MMA things earlier.
Oh, really? Yeah, because I haven't watched... I've only seen
exact-
very small amounts of MMA stuff. Did you just play the MMA game, the UFC game?
No, I had
The boxing one?
Yeah, Fight Night Champion. That was great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Have you seen any boxing?
I
think I've seen any,
but not much.
I think I've maybe seen like 5 seconds of
by
YouTube.
so much.
Okay, what about MMA?
much.
What were you seeing on MMA?
MMA's nuts.
Yeah, I know. I've heard MMA's nuts. It's like what Joe Rogan says. What is he like? It's like intense problem solving with dire physical consequences or something like that.
Yeah. I love watching videos of people taunting and then just getting knocked out straight after. It's so amazing. I watched one earlier actually, and it was Nate Diaz, I think his name is, versus Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
And this happened like last year, I think, or the year
They
before.
fought, I think, twice. They won. Nate Diaz was taunting him recently. I think it was today or something to try and get a third.
Yeah. Well, what happened was this first time they fought, Conor was, I don't know, I think they're pretty sure they're beef like really bad, and Conor like got right into his face when they did like the picture thing on the day before.
Yeah.
At the conference, and he like just basically tried to start on him there. So, but Nate was just pretty chill about it, and then they fought, and Nate fucked him up pretty bad. He had to tap out. I think he was gonna break his arm or something.
I see.
Oh, no, I think he was choking him.
I think that I think Conor's won one and Nate's won another. I think that's what it is.
I think that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they rematched and Conor won. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
He's a fucking good fighter. I think he's an arsehole, but he's so good.
Who, Conor? Or...
Yeah, Conor. Yeah.
Yeah, I really. A lot of people said that they think he's a dick. I don't know anything about him, but the thing is it's like what people have said who are actually into MMA or boxing or anything like this is that it's the personality that kind of does it. It's almost like with bands, it's the brand and it's the character of the band, like Creeper. Creeper are doing so well not only because obviously they're really great and fantastic live performances, but they've got like almost a franchise.
Yeah, definitely.
They've got a logo. They're the Creeper cult. They've got that. And it's like Slipknot. They had the masks, and they are the crazy 9-man heavy metal band that don't really sound like anything you've ever heard before. Or maybe unless people get funny about their Mudvayne and stuff like that. But
I think that's why. I mean, if you think about it, all of the
it's memorable.
Big fighters, they're just memorable. Like most of them are arseholes or they have a volatile behaviour. Makes you wonder if it's just put on.
That's what I was leading on to. Yeah, with Conor McGregor, I haven't seen him, and even if I had, I can't read people that well. But it's like, is it just a front, or it could even be like a mix? Like Corey Taylor said when he performs live with Slipknot, he says the mask is like a representation of the different person you become on stage. And it's like when you get on stage, like I know that when you've been on stage, you're the drummer, but with like Callum being the singer of Decipher and Who Needs Heroes, or used to be Who Needs Heroes, it's like, do you act in a different way? That a different part of you kind of comes out. So it's like, with Corey saying, putting the mask on brings that out. Is it like almost putting on the MMA gloves and being that Conor McGregor with the what does he have, like the ridiculous cape or something? Or does he have a suit?
Yeah, I think
There's a suit.
he wears the pinstripe suits all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, do they have a cape? I don't know.
I don't know if it was like one of those King Throne ones. I'm not sure if that doesn't happen. I apologise, but because I've seen pictures of him with his 3-year-old son, and it's like, if you're that good at MMA, I'm not saying that none of them are pieces of shit, right? But if he's that rich and he's got the public eye on him that much, if he was like an actual complete asshole, you'd probably be a dick to his kid. And if he was, you'd probably hear about it. Do you know what I mean? Or even if you're a proper asshole in domestic violence or something, that sort of thing. It's like, if you act in that way, surely it would be in part of your personal life as well.
You got to draw a parallel with something like wrestling. Obviously, wrestling's not real, but
what?
It's not. It's not pretending to be not real. But wrestling is a lot of it. That's a lot of the reason people love it. Is because the drama, because they make all the storylines. Yeah. And the reason they do that is just because it's like a show, it's like a theatre.
Yeah.
But they want to see fights, and fights are more satisfying when they have a backstory.
Yeah.
And even if that backstory is just vicious back and forth.
Well, here's a perfect example in a different world: Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The dragons are cool, but if you just watched a series where it was, I think if the amount of dragon action in it is probably about an hour or so, forgive me if it's more than that, but it's like, I've seen it all, but it's like, you watch, I just watched an hour of just a montage of a really well done CGI dragon with an attractive blonde lady on it, blowing stuff up, it'd be cool for like 2 minutes, well maybe it's like a long GIF, maybe a YouTube video, but I wouldn't want to watch like an hour straight of just cut up videos of her doing it. The reason it becomes so good is because there's so many. One of the things that people like so much about Game of Thrones is there's so many characters. So in general, there's gonna be someone you like.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like watching those videos of bullies pick like a bully kid who's like 15 or something, picking on another kid who's clearly like a nerd.
I love it when they get the nerd wrecks them.
And then the kid just like knocks him out. It's like if you watched that video just from a second before that kid knocks the bully out, it's like you just watch a kid knock another kid out. You don't know what the hell's going on.
That's not really enjoyable, is it?
It's like, okay, he has a good punch and
you
knock that kid out,
yeah.
I guess. But as soon as you know there's an underdog and there's an arsehole, an interrogator, an aggravator, sorry, and then he knocks him out, it just becomes a million times more satisfying. So that's why wrestling does that. And is that obviously everyone knows it's fake, so they know that the drama's fake.
Yeah,
but
that's part of the
matter.
I totally get it. Like I'm not into wrestling, as in I don't get wrestling as I don't watch it, but I totally understand it. It's literally people go, oh, it's fake. It's like, so is Game of Thrones. So I love Game of Thrones. It's fake. Rick and Morty's fake. Newsflash: anything animated is fake. It's like just because people are acting it out in a performance live, it's like going to the theatre going, oh, this is fake. It's like obviously it's a story, isn't it?
It's because people who think like that, they don't understand. They think that wrestling is trying to be real, and it's like it's trying to present itself as real because it's acting. But
there's a lot of physicalities to it.
They know everyone thinks it's fake. So, because it is fake, and everyone knows it's fake, but people talk like it's real because it's fun.
Yeah,
talk about it.
It's like when if like I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, but if me and Jasmine or something watch Game of Thrones, we talk about Daenerys Targaryen. We're not going to be like, oh yeah, you know that fake blonde character from Game of Thrones. It's like you talk about them. It's like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, I'll say things like, I love Daenerys in this series, or I love Jon Snow in this series. Or whatever. It's like I don't actually love them because they don't actually exist. I'm not actually saying I believe that there's this place called Westeros and there's all these things happening and we've managed to get cameras in there and somehow recording it all. But these people, there are, I think, a very, 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 very small amount of people who believe wrestling is real, like actually. Yeah. But the thing is that it deserves more respect than it does from the skeptics, because you still have to be really fit to be able to do all that sort of stuff.
They do
hit, yeah. So you may be acted, but you actually do get the crap out of you, like easy.
Like you see things like where they punch them, and it doesn't actually hit them. You can clearly see it doesn't hit them, and they act like it hits them, blah blah blah. But I mean, it's all choreographed and it's all done very well, but people do actually eventually get hit by stuff. People do get body slammed, like for real,
hit with chairs
every single time. I know the floor is bouncy and stuff like that, and that negates a lot of it. But you still have a guy who's like, however many pounds, just massive tank jumping on you or elbow dropping you. That's actually hitting you. There's techniques to pull it and make sure it doesn't hurt that much, but it will still fucking hurt.
Well, see, when you think of it, if you, I don't know if you've ever done it with, I don't know if you do it with your brother or anything like that, where when you're like, because I obviously niece and nephews, when I have like my niece or nephews, you play fighting or whatever, and if they jump on you on your chest, or even if they land on you a bit sideways off maybe like an inadvertent elbow slam on you, that does hurt. Like you have to kind of be like, don't do, if they're doing it in a violent way, obviously be like, don't do that and that sort of thing. But it does actually hurt, and they're like a tiny little 4-stone person. That's not that heavy. Whereas it's like a full-grown dench man. That's got to be.
Yeah,
probably 15 stone, 15 stone at the leanest, I suppose.
Yeah.
That kind of thing just falling on you would hurt, let alone you have to make it look like it's going to hurt.
Mm. Well, they end up bleeding, some of them.
Yeah, you see that quite a lot.
Yeah, over the faces. They hit by chairs and stuff like that.
Oh, God. You hit the face with the chair.
I love it when they get the chairs out. It's the best. Shit's going down. The best is when someone's gloating or someone's like shit talking or something, or doing something to the crowd. They like walk around the ring like they own it. And someone like basically sneaks up behind them. They think they're
stronger than me.
Yeah. And you see the guy get out from the background. He thinks the other guy thinks he's beaten. Picks up the chair and smacks him from behind. It's just great. Well, I don't watch it, but I definitely get the appeal.
Your closet.
I prefer like actual violence, like MMA.
Actual violence.
Yeah. The thing is, like, going back to the whole MMA thing, wrestlers do that whole drama thing because it makes it more satisfying for the viewer.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that's fake, but you can actually kind of make drama, which can probably start fake, just not really fake, but it's more like, say, if we didn't know each other, MMA fighters, and we had a fight coming up, I'm like, well, I don't really know this guy, but fuck that guy, I'm fucking publicly outing you and going to conferences and trying to start fights with you there.
Yeah,
it's like there's no reason for me to do it, but the only reason I'm doing it is because it makes drama, and me being an arsehole towards you, although you probably know I'm doing it just for publicity. And you're probably going to jump on it for publicity. But at the end of the day, I am starting on you.
Yeah.
And I would actually beat the shit out of you if no one pulled me away from you in the conference or vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's like, it is kind of real drama, but at the same time, it's completely forced for publicity. But
Yeah.
it's good because it makes it.
It can rile it up though, because obviously
Yeah.
it can grow into something. Because if it's like, oh, this guy's just saying it for publicity, this is something really personal. It's like, oh wait, you went too far. Or even you have a fight with him and you lose, then you're like, oh, I'm pissed off now. I want to show that I'm better than him. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really into sports. You know, I just don't really watch any of them.
Neither am I really.
It's
Yeah, I don't watch MMA. I just watch lots of highlights and I watch some full fights online.
I kind of wish I did like MMA. Half the podcasters I listen to go on about it. It's like Joe Rogan has so many fight companions and stuff. Well, you were listening to one, weren't you?
It's just so satisfying. I don't know what it is. I find most guys have a thing in them where even if they consider themselves really peaceful, they for some reason find immense enjoyment watching two people fight. Like, I don't know what it is.
That's sexist. You know, women enjoy watching people fight as well. Obviously,
Maybe
I
they do.
I
maybe
mean,
they do.
over the top. Obviously, there are a lot of female MMA fighters and a lot of women who obviously like MMA and stuff. But
Yeah.
with
Ronda
do you know-
Rousey.
sorry,
Ronda Rousey.
I knew that was going to come up. That's the only one that I know. There's
Like, I don't know. What's the name of the woman who
beat her.
beat
She,
her and she
I think Ronda Rousey now is like pretty out of it.
she retired? Yeah.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
did
she
retire
has
because I think she fought a couple more times and got wrecked, and then she just like nah.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like what was it called? Do you know American football was like made after the war to kind of for when men have got all this aggression inside them to kind of take it out, like testosterone. Well, that's what I heard.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'll have to have a little Google of that, just double check. But I heard that on. I'm not going to say who I think I heard it on because if I'm wrong, I don't want to. You know, all the millions and
information.
millions and millions of people who are going to listen to the first episode are going to completely destroy the podcast industry. From my word. Yeah. So.
Sometimes I wish I could get into a fight. I don't know why.
I get that all the
Yeah.
time. I
So
get it
like-
with
so-
you quite a bit actually.
You want to fight me?
Well, I just think that if I fought you, because if I fought you, that I know that you wouldn't kill me. I know that if I got to the floor, you wouldn't get on top of me and start beating my face to a bloody pulp. You know, if we had a fight,
Walk into the kitchen, see the washing upstairs, and you're like, I'm gonna fuck that cunt up.
just pick up like the frying pan, and just smack you in the face with it while you're playing like Overwatch or something. Playing Rocket League, I'm just smacking the back of the head with a frying pan, like, dude, now. It's like, what? I just grab you, throw you in your bed, and it's like, is he gonna fight
Come
me?
on, bro.
Is he gonna
I'm not gonna
fight
fight
me?
you, dude. It's like, fucking fight me, yeah?
No,
No,
I
I wish
get
I
it.
could get into a fight sometimes. Then I start thinking, well, if I'm in a real fight, you know, I'm not massively confident. I just want to get into a fight. I'm only about to get into a fight, not take any damage, and then rewind time so that conflict doesn't exist anymore. That's how much of a wimp I am.
Yeah, it's like, I want to punch someone, but I don't want them to punch me, or I want to really hurt them.
Yeah, I don't mind getting punched, but like, I don't want to.
Not in the face.
I don't want. Yeah, I don't mind getting punched in the head. I you know, being knocked out sucks and everything, but like I've passed out before. It's obviously different from being knocked out, but it really does suck. But I'd much rather be knocked out than like hitting the teeth or nose. I mean, my nose looks broken as fuck as it is. I can't have any worse. Imagine if my nose got any worse. Ryan Wilson. Like, wow.
Just someone punches so hard in the face, they break your nose. Wow.
That's my reaction, getting punched.
That's it. Maybe that's why he says it so often. Like, he's been punched in the face so many times. Like right in
He
the
actually
nose.
has broken his nose multiple times. That's the reason it looks like that.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's like 3 times or something.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
You can find out online. I think one of them he like broke it in like football or something, playing football.
Oh, okay. Well, when he was like a younger before he got into acting and
I
stuff.
think so.
He's quite an attractive man, though.
Yeah, he's alright.
Yeah,
That's funny.
no homo. Yeah, no homo, Bromeo. I don't know. Well, yeah. So back to we went off on quite a nice little tangent there, but it's just
We're talking about fighting. We were originally talking about punching Nazis for an
Yeah.
incredibly small amount of time.
we were.
So I guess you could say it's full circle, but
Yeah, to a degree. It's always fun to have tangents, isn't it? Well, it's like it's not meant to talk about anything specific. That's what this whole pilot episode is meant to kind of be about. It's just have a chat, see where it sort of takes us. But yeah, with the punching Nazi thing, it's like the idea behind it is they've got these horrible, hateful ideas. We should use violence to stop them, but a lot of the time it doesn't really stop anyone. It just kind of fuels their fire of saying, look, we don't get our rights. We believe that they want to kill all Jews or things like that, which is obviously absolutely disgusting and horrendous. But they're going, oh, we can't say that. We can't even say that now. What is this world coming to? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Political correctness gone mad. And a lot of people say, like, oh, I don't want immigrants in the country. And it's like, if someone says that and then you go, you should look into it a little bit more to know the facts and statistics to see if immigrants do actually have a positive or negative effect on your economy and what sort of jobs percentage-wise they're taking. Because I know in the UK, I think that a lot of nurse jobs are taken by people who are immigrants.
yeah.
So it's like, well, what, you want to get rid of all them? You want to get rid of our nurses? It's like, you don't choose where you're born. No one chose to be born in the middle of like a Libya or Syrian conflict. But then again, with this, there's also that side which comes with if you're on the left or the right, is the right is generally don't let them in, and the left is generally let them all in. And it's just like, we need to help these people, but I'm not saying that we need to literally open our borders and let every single refugee in, because dangerous people could be let in. But the thing is, you can't just not let any of them in, because there's so many innocent people. There has to be like a middle ground of like...
This is why the world's issues are so complex that I think it's a really weird thing that we're moving so black and white. You have like, there's no, like we were talking about it before, like with the left and the right, there's now a really far left, like really far left, more left than anyone's ever been before, or any society that I know of at least.
Yeah.
Has ever been before. And you have people who are really far right to the point of complete oppression, like North Korea, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why can't we just meet in the middle and understand that you can't take on big issues, or particularly big issues, but issues in general, with a complete left or complete right, like an extreme. Just why don't you just meet in the middle and compromise?
There should be more votes to do with specific laws, as opposed to, like, if people... I don't know if this would work better when the internet... I know the internet's a big thing at the moment, but if we could somehow perfect internet security somehow, with voting or something like that, if there was just like every month or something, every person can vote, or maybe they potentially can make it mandatory. I know in... was it... Australia, I think, is you get fined if you don't vote in the general election. If you had some sort of point system where you have to vote in a certain amount of votes every 5 or 10 years or something, unless there's some sort of specific reason, like if you have a certain disability, or maybe you have to fill in the specific set of paperwork to say, look, I don't have the internet, I don't want to get involved in politics, I don't want to do any of it. Maybe something like that, I don't know, this is just, I've kind of half thought about this now, but it's like, with voting it should be more going on the individual laws that you want to pass. You know, there may be some people who believe a real left view of let's legalize all drugs, but also let's close all the borders and not let any immigrants in. And they should be able to say that and have that choice, rather than saying, okay, well, either I have to have drug reform and let all the immigrants in, or I have to have not let any immigrants in and not have any drug reform. And
the issue with that is that if you keep throwing votes at people, then people stop voting.
Well, because of the effort.
The amount of effort that goes into it. People will stop caring, I think.
That's a good point, I suppose. Well, that's the thing. That's the problem with representative democracy, is that with I may butcher this. I think it's Norway, where no, it's France. It's France. I remember now. What they do is they have this thing where they have like, there's not a set amount of parties that can start running. I think they had like 20 something, or maybe they had more than that, but they had like at least that sort of amount running, and then they have this voting process, and if one of the parties doesn't get, I think it's more than like 50% or something, or maybe it's a higher majority than that, if they don't get a certain majority, then it goes into the second round of voting, and it's basically the two with the highest, it's between those two.
Yeah. And
that makes sense, because what they had is they had that, and the first vote turn, it was like, a lot of people were worried. There was this woman who was running on the right and this guy running on the left. I believe the woman running on the right was more popular than the guy running on the left when it was the whole election, when it was like between all these different people. But when it came between just those two, then the guy on the left won. Yeah. I believe that was the way it rolled out.
The thing is, like, you have to, if you're gonna make people vote on everything, it's like, where's the line on what people can't vote for? Because there's so many things that there would be such an unbelievable amount of votes.
That's a good point.
Undoable. But then you have to start. There's gonna be also
that's what
matters
the people in Parliament are for.
Yeah, and there's gonna be matters that the average member of the public won't understand. Yeah. And is a vote passing or a bill passing for something, and it'd just be completely out of the average person's depth. And it's just like, then what do you do? So you need to have the issue of, you have to have someone or a party or a group of people or whatever deciding on what people can vote for, but then that can be completely manipulated. Yeah. Because if a government or whatever sector of the government has an ulterior motive, they want a thing to be passed, and they know that the public won't vote for it, then they can just go, well, we're not going to let you vote for this because you're going to find it too confusing, and it'll go completely under the radar. Yeah, that's a good point. And then you'd have to have like another group of people to decide that, because that's what the House of Commons, or is it the House of Lords? I think it's House of Commons, isn't it? Where it's like all the MPs are in there. Yeah. That's what they vote on. That's what it's meant to be about. And I suppose it kind of what it is, because, you know, people in Southampton, we all voted, and it was like a very, very slim majority to the Conservative. But
I don't know what the right thing is. I think the French system rather is probably the best that I can think of for now, where you have multiple parties, vote on them all. If one doesn't win by loads, then the two who are in the lead kind of go towards it. Because then you have a chance of... Then people wouldn't go, oh, there's no point voting for the Green Party, for example, because Conservative or Labour are going to win. If you had, like, way more choice, and you kind of split it up a bit more and said, we're changing the whole system. But the problem is all the people who want to change the system are the people, kind of like us, who have no power, and all the people who can change it, who would, try and make a vote on the law, are the people who benefit from that law being not in place.
I have no idea what impact that would have on our country, but yeah, if we had like tons, you mean like if we had loads of different parties?
Yeah.
That represented like obviously different things, but some not as wildly different as they are now.
If you could get rid of the word Labour and Conservative,
yeah.
and Lib Dems and all of them, and the Green Party, and change it all so that all that were done on the merit of what their policies were.
Yeah.
Well, there was a thing that I heard about which was really interesting. I can't remember who said it or whatever, but it was like they should have it where they release the referendums for Labour and Conservative and Lib Dems and whatnot, but they just don't tell you whose is whose. So there's just them out there, and the only way you can...
The referendums? Do you mean...
No, I said referendums are being a moron. I meant, what's the word? A manifesto.
Yeah.
That's the one. Sorry.
The one.
Legal jargon. Political jargon, rather. But it's like, yeah, when they release their manifestos, and it doesn't say who's whose.
Mm.
But obviously the problem is that you'd have to almost rename... You'd almost have to just have Referendum 1, Referendum 2, and Referendum 3, and not tell anyone whose they are until afterwards. Because people would just go, well, I'm going to vote Conservative anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a lot of the time it's a team thing.
I think I can't imagine the percentage of people in any votes for any party, to be honest, anyone who votes, actually votes for their party without looking through the manifesto. It's probably
a lot.
Massive amount.
Well,
I guarantee it's a majority.
It's
so sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It's definitely
and I
at least
mean,
a large chunk.
And I don't mean like going onto their front page and reading their bullet points, like the 10 bullet point things they're going to do. Like, that's not reading their manifesto.
No, that's scanning what they're kind of like drip feeding you.
I'm not being like a political snob. I'm not like that at all. I don't even really do this to that extent, so I'm not even practicing what I preach really. But like, I don't mean reading the entire thing, but like reading key parts, like a decent amount,
At leleast looking into it to a degree. But then again, if you don't look into it and you vote for a party, then you complain about them. So if they're doing what they said they would do in the manifesto, it's your own fault. But what they should do, I think Scroobius Pip, who's another podcaster and he's a rap artist as well, that obviously we both like, he said that one of the ideas what should be done is on the voting card, there's, say, I don't know, 5 questions or something, and it's just very simply got which of these wants to ban fox hunting, or which of these wants to tick these ones which want to bring back fox hunting, and you can tick any amount of them. And you
like tick your views, and it'll just match you with one.
Well, no, that's a good idea.
So weird. That would only work if
there were millions
loads,
of them. Yeah, no, I don't mean like that. No. No, what Scroobius Pip was saying was, I worded that poorly. They have trivia questions about parties, and you answer them, and depending on how many you get right, it will depend on how many votes your vote counts for. So, for example, it says, who believes that you should ban fox hunting? And the answer would be, I don't know if it's out of all the parties which ones it were, but if we just said it was only the Conservative Party that wanted to bring back fox hunting, and all the rest wanted to ban it, and you had a question, which of these parties wants to bring back fox hunting, and you've got like your tick boxes. If you get that wrong, because the answer would be, the Conservatives want to bring it back, if you got that wrong, and you didn't tick the Conservative box, that's 1 vote less, or that's half or quarter of a vote less. Do you know what I mean?
That's like get a question. The thing is, that's the question for your opinion. You can't say it's wrong.
No, not an opinion. No, you're not misunderstanding me. There's a trivia. So there's like trivia questions, and then the vote at the bottom. So it's like, do you want to vote at the bottom? At the bottom, it would say, do you want to vote for this one, this one, this one, this one? You tick whichever one to apply. But on the other side, for example, there are 5 questions about the manifestos, and you have to choose which ones. Like, you have to answer the questions correctly. Which of these
comprehensive test.
Well, kind of, yeah. Like basically, like which of these wants to increase taxes?
Yeah.
And then, or which one of these wants to cut from the NHS?
I don't think the general public would be very happy with basically having to do a test.
Yeah, but the thing is that they're only about it'd be like 5 very simple questions, like not just literally bullet point, like a multiple choice, just tick ones, and all it'll do is it just mean if you get them all wrong, you still get a 1 vote. But if you get them all right, it's worth 5 or something. And people, or even like less than that, like 3, and you just do halves or something. So it's like,
basically what I'm thinking is, or what Scroobius Pip's kind of point was that if you have a voting system where
you have questions, and if you answer the questions about all the parties
Yeah.
and all the information about what the parties' manifestos are about, then your votes will be worth more because you've researched into actual politics, and you're not just doing the whole "I'm voting Conservative because I always have" or "I'm voting Labour because I always have."
Well, the thing is, if the questions were all the same for everyone, which I'm sure they would be,
Yeah.
then people would just cheat.
Yeah, but if they cheated, then they know the answers, so it'd be like that's a good thing.
That's a good point.
That's exactly what Scroobius Pip said, because Scroobius Pip actually said, someone said to him, well, if they cheat, and he's like, well, then they know the information, that's the point. It's like, good for them, it's like they don't have to research it themselves, like they tell them, just to make sure that if someone's, like my mum, for example, she doesn't really pay attention to politics anymore that much, because she don't really care about it anymore, because she was saying, like, it's all generally the same, and, I don't know, corruption, all that sort of jazz, which I do kind of feel like that, maybe not within America, maybe in England, not quite as much corruption as in America and that sort of thing.
Well, that we know of.
That exactly.
Yeah, as we were saying,
that's going to come
secrecy.
out. Yeah, there you go. Back to transparency. It's all loops. This podcast, and but I'm not really. I believe the political system is broken. I don't really know precisely what could fix it. I mean, there's the improvement of the thing we mentioned earlier about France.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I'm not really sure. Like a whole overhaul, I'm not really sure what we'd have to do with that, scrapping the whole thing and start from scratch, and that would destroy the country. It would be in like disarray, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be that much of a change. I think it is, but I agree, it's not really working at the moment. It's only working for quite a while now, I think. But I don't think it's. I don't have like a Russell Brand opinion where it's like let's have a revolution and let's redo the entire system and just change how the government works, or just get rid of the government and do something else. It's like the thing is, the reason you can't think of something, I think he always says I don't have the answers. I'm just saying, I think the reason he has absolutely no idea about the answer is because it's not really anything better. Like you could probably make this better, but changing what we already have as opposed to completely scrapping it and replacing it.
I think the only thing I could think of is instead of having a prime minister, you just don't have one of them. You just have everything sorted out by the House of Commons, I believe it is, but instead of just loads of MPs who are just political figures who are good at being political figures, it should be people who are elected in I don't know what kind of way, maybe just voted by the people, elected who are like experts in
scientists.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, for this there's like I don't know 200 openings, and one of them is like, okay, environmental scientist. So someone who can apply for that. Say anyone can apply, does local elections and goes on and on and on. But if you apply for that, you have to have a degree in environmental science, something like that.
The thing is, the relevancy runs out surely. I mean, you can have like a scientist would be, it makes sense that they'd be on a part of a party or a government or whatever.
Yeah.
You can see how that would be useful. I don't know, someone who's got a degree in English literature. I think that's going to help very much. Someone who's got a degree in maths. Not really.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be that way, would it? It would be depending on what the job is. So you have, like, for example, you'd want the person who's like the Chancellor of the Exchequer, the one who's in charge of all our money, probably to have at least an economics degree.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so, I mean, certain job roles, not everyone would have to have a degree, but certain job roles, they should be like someone who runs, like, the policing sector would have to have been a police constable for at least 10 years or something. Do you know what I mean? Every job role would have a specific specification that you'd need to have.
Yeah.
And if you had that for all of them, and you just had a group of experts, then you'd be fine.
Yeah, maybe.
Because then it would just be like, if you have a group of scientists and they're all like, there's this voting on, okay, environmental science. The thing is the people who are, I suppose the issue would still lie. You'd have to have almost groups within it, because why would you want someone voting on? Well, actually, no, it wouldn't be voting, would it? I don't know, because it would either be there's just one figurehead of environmental science and they make all the decisions, or if they kind of do that and it can be vetoed, and then some sort of evidence has to be shown for why that's a good idea or something, and maybe the House of Commons or whatever it would be called, this group of people, could veto it in some way, and then that would bring about a vote. I'm not really sure if a certain amount of people vetoed it, it'd bring about some sort of vote and just see what the majority think.
It's one of those things where it's like it's
very time consuming to do that sort of thing.
I try not to even think about that kind of stuff, because I mean, there's like 7 billion people on the earth, and
rising.
No one's thought of, as of yet, that's 7 billion people. It says that's 7 billion people who are alive right now, and seemingly no one yet has figured out a perfect solution or way to run a country or
maybe people have, they just can't,
run a
because
society.
the people who are in power, who control all the way the world is run and the way that the countries are run, are the people who can stop us. Like, if I want to make a law, like if I want to make sure a certain law was legal, like I think you have to present it to like a local MP or something, and they have to take it up further, and it goes up and up and up. Well, if they're all, I'm not saying all MPs are corrupt, but just for this argument, let's just say every single member of parliament and every single political leader is corrupt, right? Yeah. And wouldn't want to do whatever this one thing I want to do is. If I present to one of them, they just go, nope. And that's it. What can I do? If I don't know what to do, I can't take it anyone higher. Maybe if I send to someone higher, they just go, nope. And it's like, well, if they all do that, like if every single political leader was all like, no, the way the system of the world is now, that's how we have to have it. The only way you can change it is proper violent revolution, like a whole country taking over.
To be fair, that's kind of, sort of, you could argue, what happened with Bernie Sanders, isn't it?
Well, Bernie Sanders,
he didn't propose a new system, but like he was so liberal and for the people, and
well, he was, and he
against basically like almost the opposite of what most presidents have been. Well,
it was because his party, like, was it betrayed him? Was it something like his? Yeah. With America, it has to be. You have to vote whether or not you're going to be in the Democrats or Republicans, and then they do the kind of runnings of who the main people are going to be. And when it was like, I think it was Trump or what was the one that everyone says like the Zodiac killer? The guy who's Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz or Donald Trump? Ted Cruz, he was like a really strong religious person, but everyone thinks he's weird and creepy. Yeah. And it's between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, and it was between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is, I think, campaign leader or runner or something, allegedly like kind of ran it to the ground a bit, and then as soon as Bernie lost, she went within the same day or something ridiculous, went over to Hillary's thing, and it had come out that she was either on the payroll or something to do with the Clintons, and it's just like, she basically messed up like Bernie.
Hillary
between
made it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like you don't.
Is already that level of like suppressing different ideas.
Yeah, well, I think it's a boiling point. It's just coming over time. With the internet, it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened, really, to civilized society. There's a lot of bad that's in the internet, but I think there's a lot more good than bad. And it's just like, excluding the hours of entertainment and all that sort of jazz, and the porn, that's pretty good. But it's like, with all that, I'm not going to go into that as a big discussion about porn as well, whether it's good or bad or not. But aside from that, it's with the internet, it's given everyone a voice. So obviously, you've got a lot of dickheads who've got a voice, and a lot of Nazis and all that sort of jazz.
We got a voice on the internet right now, and we're dickheads.
Holla.
And Nazis.
We are. We're both Nazis. I've got a swastika tattoo actually on the back of my head, but no one can ever see it because I only shaved my head once, and that's actually when I got the tattoo.
Yeah, white power.
Yeah, and that's why I always wore the beanie, so no one could see it. Yeah, white power. Yeah, me having a different amount of melanin in my skin makes me better in every single way, even though that literally makes absolutely no fucking sense. And if anyone disagrees with that, then you're just a disgusting human being, or you're brainwashed. And if you're brainwashed to think that, then you need to really rethink your sort of views and ideas. But I'm not going to go on here and complain about racism, because I think the majority of people think that racism's bad. I'm not going to be some sort of white knight in the night. Guess what, guys? I actually think racism is bad. Whoa!
Wow, what a new way of thinking.
Oh my god, 2017. I never thought about that. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. But I've lost my train of thought a little bit. Choo-choo. Yeah. Okay.
Pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's just
we had a really uncomfortably intimate moment then for a second.
Well, me and you.
Just saying choo-choo at the same time.
It was beautiful. I feel like just stopping this and just coming over there and kissing you.
I feel strongly different.
Well, I think we've kind of come to the end of it, really. I mean, I don't really know what the right answer is, to be honest, with where violence, at what point. Because I said, when we went on the first tangent, it was like, if I'm in a club, some guy touches my girlfriend's ass, if I had a girlfriend, and he starts squaring up to you, if you can get away from that situation as best you can without causing any violence, that's the best option. Yeah. But at what point do you have to be violent back? Obviously, if he hits you, then it kind of all goes out the window and you can hit him. But if he's touching her a lot, and if you push him, is that kind of like the middle ground, I suppose?
To be fair, I think it's
how provocative.
Yeah,
if it's
you
physical,
are an angry
provocative
person and you like to fight, if someone touches your girlfriend's ass, you're probably going to fucking literally go straight in. Fucking bang, bang, bang. If you're someone who can control their anger or is too much of a wimp to actually start anything, it's more of a, when is it necessary? Like, if he hits my girlfriend's ass, we could walk away and that's problem solved. Or he hits my girlfriend's ass, and we walk away, and he comes over and continues doing it and starts doing other stuff, and it's just like to the
Yeah.
point where
And
this guy's not going to leave from anything other than you beating the shit out of him.
Or what if, and even if you go to a bouncer or something, if you're in a club,
Yeah.
and then they're just like, there's nothing we can do. It's like, well, and then you're like, well, I could call the police. It's like, well, you're going to call the police and waste their time to come out to stop a guy squeezing your girlfriend's ass. It's like, but I don't want to hit them. And you just, I suppose I would just try and, as much as I can to get away and get out in a taxi maybe. But if it was like super early in the night, it'd ruin everything. Or even if it wasn't, he tried to like actually physically stop you getting in the taxi, or if he just blocks the way, then it would have to be a thing of like, I'm gonna have to hit this guy. I don't want to, but it's gonna be. I really hope that day never comes. Unfortunately, I don't go out enough really to have to warrant the ass kicking, because I'm sure I'd just get beaten up. But I'm not much of a fighter. I'm kind of like you. I want to get in a fight, but I think I'm fairly strong-ish. Like maybe a bit stronger than average purely because I go to the gym a bit, but nothing spectacular. But I've never been in a fight, so I like to think that if I got in a fight, I could figure things out. But I think I'd get in there once, I'd be punched really hard in the face, and I'd be so confused, I'd just get the shit kicked out of me. I wouldn't be able to react in time.
If you have the adrenaline, you don't feel pain that much when you're actually fighting.
Depends on how hard they'd hit you to begin with, and because if they got you in the right part of the head, it would disorientate you quite a lot, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know, but yeah, with that, like, at what point would it be then? Okay, and then when it comes to people being racist, if someone's walking around wearing a swastika, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. You know what I'm talking about, the Nazi symbol that was stolen from, I think, a lot of Buddhist sort of ideology. That, if someone's wearing that and it says, it doesn't necessarily say kill all Jews, but it says, maybe it says something about Hitler on there that's not necessarily negative, or Hail Hitler, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's still equally bad to kill Jews. But if it was something that was fairly provocative but didn't outwardly literally say, kill Jews, then would you be able to hurt them? And I think no, because you can express yourself. If you wear a t-shirt that just says kill all Jews, I mean, I don't know if some people would have that as a joke. If any Jewish people wore that, maybe it'd be for satire reasons. But is there a right to hurt someone if they're wearing that top? And obviously if you say yes, and it's anyone who's wearing it as a joke, then you're hurting them. But then you could go, well, if they're making a joke about something, that's something you should make a joke about. And then it comes back to the other points we were making.
Well, I think ultimately then it's a difference in terms of like what I said about the guy at a club and whatever, and basically becoming angry so easily that you'd end up just fighting him, or you can contain it, and the only reason you fight is an active decision. So it's not a reaction; it's a decision.
So
I guess that is how you can answer the question. If you were, is it okay to punch a Nazi? No, but if I saw a Nazi or whatever neo-Nazi beating up a black guy or someone.
Or what about if they're harassing?
Because they're being.
They're not beating up, just harassing.
Yeah, well, no, I mean beating up.
With beating up, if anyone's beating up anyone and it's clearly. Well, actually, I don't know.
No, because if someone's beating up someone, usually you don't try to stop it. You don't try and like beat one up. You don't pick one side and just beat the other one up. If I saw a guy who's clearly like a skinhead or something with like
swastika
on
tattoos,
his forehead or whatever, beating the shit out of a black guy and calling him racist slurs and whatever. I wouldn't, probably, because I'm a loser. But
I wouldn't.
A lot of people, I think, I'd say. Then,
I'd try and at least get him off.
I'd say it's probably okay to beat the shit out of that guy. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take him off. I'd pull him off. And
I think it's illegal.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily even the question. Is if a Nazi punches you, then I think you have the right to punch back in self-defense. But at what point, if there's a Nazi and he's shouting slurs at, say you're a Jewish person and you're if we use Charlottesville as the example, if people don't know somehow, there was a lot of white supremacists, Nazis and KKK members doing protesting in the streets of Charlottesville because this Confederate commander statue, I think they were going to take it down or something, and obviously the Confederates in America were the ones who wanted to keep the slaves, so they were protesting the removal of that. There was some counter protests from some people who were on the left, and then violence eventually broke out. The thing is, if these Nazis, say they got up in your face and they were saying all Jews should die, and they were like shouting at you and not actually touching you but just yelling at you, Jews should die and all that sort of stuff, do you have the right to hit them? And think about this with Westboro Baptist Church. Because they do the God hates fags thing. Like, I don't believe what they're doing is right, and I think it's disgusting. But I'm not sure how I feel about someone going over there and just beating the shit out of all of them. Because there's children there. There's people. There's that line of where's the line of how much you can. If you can allow someone to do that, then what would stop the government of saying, okay, when you do anti-government protests, we're going to beat the shit out of you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think it should have been legal. When the question like.
Yeah, if we go legal,
would it be okay? I mean,
morally to
myself,
in certain outliers, certain like situations. Yeah. But it's like with these Nazis.
The only time it's okay is if I saw someone being, like I said, a Nazi beating up a black guy.
What if you at that rally, okay, and there's the Nazis and the Liberals, and you were, I imagine, the Liberal side, and if nothing was, everyone was just yelling at each other, you wouldn't want anything to happen. But if one of the Liberals then hits a Nazi, then I'd say that even though what the Nazis are spewing is hateful and disgusting, you acting out in violence first is a bigger, not a bigger problem necessarily, but you know what I mean? That's not okay. Yeah. That kind of stops the conversation. That stops you being in the right necessarily. That stops you having the moral high ground, and that makes you using violence when everyone else is just using words. Yeah. But then where's the line of if the Nazis start, say, harassing people, if they go into Jewish people's houses and like outside their homes picketing them, saying they should all die, and say a Jewish man walks out of his home and there's just Nazis not touching him, but walking down the driveway with him saying, "We hope you fucking die, we're going to all kill you," or maybe even if they don't do death threats, because that's obviously punishable by law, if they say, "We hope you die, you disgusting Jew scum," or some horrendousness like that. He goes in his car, goes to work, comes back, there's these people outside his house all the time. Do you have the right to hurt someone if they're doing that? Because that's harassment, and that's individual harassment from a group. So I'd lean more towards that being okay.
Yeah, I guess so, actually.
Because the harassment...
If someone told me that was happening to them and they beat the shit out of someone because of it, I'd be like, good on you, mate.
I mean, you could call that... I mean, that's...
Obviously, it's illegal, and I don't condone it because it's illegal, but at the same time, if you did it, I probably wouldn't be particularly sad for the guy you beat the shit out of.
Where's the idea in it where there was that guy, I think he found a man molesting his 1-year-old daughter or something, and he beat him to death. And the judge said, and the judge was like, that's fine. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's yeah. So certain times, obviously, where violence can come into it, but it's always about where the line is, and if there is a line in any way, because I think it's just a lot of it's down to the individuals involved. Like Charlottesville, I would never be the one to punch a Nazi first. If they were doing that to someone's house, that is harassment, so you could call the police in theory. But at what point it would be them just walking down the street yelling horrible things, do they deserve to be hurt from that? Well, if you're hurting them, is that really going to change their mind? Or is it just going to make them think that all their opposition are really violent and are awful? And if that's the case, then you go, well, I'm not, they're clearly as bad as all these Nazi brothers are saying that they are. They're all trying to oppress us. Therefore, I'm going to use violence back, or I'm going to recruit more people. They go home. Billy, what happened? Oh, all these liberals beat me up. Oh, okay. Why is that? Because I was expressing my views. And they can turn not necessarily more people to be Nazis necessarily. They probably could say, use a bit of that, but a bit more sympathising, And then what happens is you get, unfortunately, you get these sorts of debates like we're kind of having, which we shouldn't really be having in today's day and age. But instead of how can we stop people being Nazis, we're saying, should you punch one or not? It's like, no. Generally speaking, if they hit you first, then in self-defense, I'd say it's fine. If they're harassing someone and the police aren't doing anything, then I could argue that as well.
It's more
if they're just protesting.
Yeah. For me, it's more I'd be happy to turn the other way, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's more of
I
those.
wouldn't stop it if you're going to beat the shit out of him. It's like I don't think it's right, but I wouldn't stop it. It's one of those weird things.
It's one of those things as well. Some of it, like for example, one of the people at the rally was, or at least one of them, was autistic, and he felt rejected by society, and he obviously felt some sort of brotherhood with the Nazis, and obviously that's not the right thing to be thinking. But if no one's accepting you except these Nazis, and you have a mental illness or
condition.
It's a condition, it wouldn't be an illness. Obviously when you're born with it and things, it's like with an autistic child who doesn't really know better, he shouldn't get punched because he doesn't understand. But then again, where's the line of responsibility? Because then you can even, there's a way it can get real deep territory that I'm not really going to delve into, but it's like not diffusion of responsibility, the determinism free will thing. If you're raised by two Nazis and all your friends and family are Nazis and they don't let you go to school, you're homeschooled, and then you get to 18 and you go to a Nazi rally with loads of other Nazis, do you deserve to get punched in the face? If you're not allowed the internet. Would punching them in the face help, or would it just be, see, we've been telling you for all these years that everyone else out there wants to get you. This is what they are. We're the good people, all these Jews are out there. And it's like, violence violence has never actually technically solved anything. Not never, but like with wars, okay? Violence brought about the end of the war, but the thing that kind of stopped the war was everyone agreeing with words and signing things that we're not going to do this anymore. I know that Hitler obviously
didn't last that long first time.
Well, exactly. The problem is a man sticks their word, and so is a nation. But it's like if you are doing that, then if you're killing people over your views, then you're wrong. But then again, it's also with I think Sam Harris said something not dissimilar to this sort of idea of, if you know someone has this idea of a really bad thing like Nazis, yeah, if you know they are at some point going to beat up a Jewish man, is it your right, if you know somehow that they're going to do it, can you beat them up first, like Minority Report style? See, I don't know about that. That's too much. Fortunately, I don't think we ever really know for sure. But that's what a lot of people would argue, wouldn't it? They'd say, well, these Nazis are going to be violent at some point, so we should stop them now with violence.
Do you maybe think that all these issues we've been talking about are so confusing and seemingly impossible to get to an answer because they don't have an answer? Because just the way humans are,
I think it's all subjective.
We're trying to look for a perfect world and a perfect society where actually we're imperfect beings, and it's never going to happen. So
some people want to say let's get rid of rape completely. It's like, obviously I'd love for rape to be get rid of completely. That would be, rape is an absolutely horrendous, disgusting act, and I wish it never ever happened. But you could have an almost utopian society, but there's still going to be people who are messed up in the head and are rapists, unfortunately. It's all about how much you can minimalise it and how much you can help people.
Yeah.
I think that's just what it comes down to. I suppose with the Nazi things, it's all about just education. If in schools and stuff, they focused maybe somehow more on like sort of a community sort of class, like where it's talking about how
to do that now.
Oh, have they?
They have to. It's because
Rhys works in a school, by the way.
Anti-terrorism, it's because like anti-terrorism measures, basically. They don't label it as that, but that's basically what it is.
Oh, okay.
They try and teach I'm not sure if they do it in junior schools, but secondary school kids at certain points, they do like these weird workshops. In my school, they go into the hall and they do this like big workshop thing throughout the whole day. I'm not sure. I think it's just 1 year group at a time.
Okay.
But it's like you learn British values. That's what it is. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is.
Oh, and it's kind of trying to help everyone is welcome. There's been
it's just trying to teach you like
stop being hateful.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, it's weird and it's upsetting that it has to actually happen, but
Well, at least it's the steps in the right direction. That's what we need. We need education and help for those who unfortunately suffer due to it. Yeah. I think that's just the end of it. Once our political system can be more honest, and we can get more of the right kind of transparency, and maybe something to do with this is just another little side thing, some sort of thing where the government, maybe they get some sort of penalties, or the people involved get penalties if they say they're going to do all this stuff and then they don't.
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, oh, I've got all, both sides, as I think my brother said a couple of times, both sides always seem to say they have all this money to solve all these problems, when the fact is neither of them have any money, because that's the whole problem. There isn't any money, but you keep electing these people who say, we've got the money, the other team have just been squandering it, and then it's just constantly back and forth. Yeah. But yeah, I think honesty, education, and just everyone be a bit nicer to each other, try not to punch each other if possible.
So the answer to the question, when is it okay to punch a Nazi, is no, but it's okay to throw a book at him, to educate him.
Yeah, I'd say if you throw a book on, if it's a small book, it's like a real thin, like a
pamphlet.
large
book,
throw up
on the
like
cheap
a yellow
side,
pages,
make it a little bit painful,
like a yellow pages book.
Yeah.
I'd like a real thick foam book.
It needs to be hard cover.
I just slap him with a leaflet. Give him a nasty paper cut on the cheek. That'll teach you. Don't do that again, son.
Passive-aggressive thing ever.
Or give them loads of paper cuts in the shape of a swastika.
Literally the most Literally the most lame way to solve an argument. Slap someone with a leaflet.
that's
learn.
I think that's where we're going to end it. So this has been the end of it's over 90 minutes long. We've rambled on and gone on a bit, but we'll see. This comes out. There's been a good episode, I think.
Yeah, it's been alright.
Good pilot. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
So that's the end of the first podcast. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as me and Rhys did. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be recording a lot more podcasts with a large variety of guests talking about a wide variety of things. So it's going to be a while before another one kind of comes out. But, once I've stockpiled enough, then I'll try and release them on sort of a weekly basis. And, we can kind of see where it goes from there. You can find Genuine Chit-Chat on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This podcast should be uploaded to iTunes, Acast, and Overcast, and any of the other sort of podcasting apps. I'm also going to upload it to YouTube, so anyone who doesn't really want to use the free podcasting app that's on every iPhone and you can get on pretty much any Android phone. If you don't want to do that, that's completely understandable. I'll be uploading them to YouTube as well, which will be under Genuine Chit-Chat. If you go to the Facebook page, it'll have all sort of the links to find them all. So let us know what you think, and we'll see you later.